Today we're going to be rating cards from the latest set, Phyrexia, All Is One. There's a lot of wild cards in this set. Alright, let's start with one of the more controversial ones, Minor Misstep. Every format's wondering, is this card great? Is it bad? Is it busted? Is it unplayable? People are having a really hard time evaluating this one because it is the fixed mental misstep for a single blue. Instead of the Phyrexian mana, we're not using Phyrexian mana around here. We're using a single blue instant counter target spell with mana value 1 or less. So what does that mean for a format like Modern, for example? You nail all the 1-drops like Ragavan, Swift Spear, Soul Scar Mage. You hit Lightning Bolt. You hit, like, basically every single cantrip. It's got a lot of targets. If you're playing a deck without 1-drops, you're an idiot. I mean, unless you're a Crashing Footfalls or, like, I guess Living End player or something like that. There are very few decks that aren't playing anything with 1 or 0 mana cards. I mean, it does hit mana value 0. So, I mean, if they even cascade into Crashing Footfalls or Living End, you can hit those cards too. So it has tons of application. And the Legacy players, they are leaking diarrhea out of their buttholes because this basically nails the whole format. I mean, it could be exactly Mental Misstep 2.0, and they gotta ban this thing all over again. Except that the only fixed part about this is only blue decks can play this card. No other decks can, no other decks other than the blue decks can utilize this card in Legacy, which is the only fair thing about this. And then you even look at, like, Commander. Mental Misstep is a very powerful, useful utility card, hitting a lot of counter spells and also mana rocks. You know, you Mental Misstep the Soul Ring, the Mana Vault. It keeps people at bay. This is another Mental Misstep to utilize to put into your, you know, basically in your counter spell package. Now, is it like, I think undoubtedly, without any shred of a doubt, this card is playable. Now, is it worth being, like, in the main deck? Is it replacing Spell Snare, for example, which is making a comeback, by the way? Spell Snare making a comeback. I think this card is definitely going to be in people's sideboards to some degree. Oh yeah, the King Ginger. I have no doubt that this is CEDH playable. If Mental Misstep is playable. Minor Misstep. Again, you got that. They got that stupid orb and all the fire coming at it. It's the same thing from Force of Negation and Force of Will. It's the exact same image. Orb, protect from the fire and lightning. Always. There's no other image in Magic the Gathering to depict counter spells these days. Oh god, Minor Misstep is a hard counter to Chalice. On 0, yes, but not a hard counter to Chalice on not a hard counter to Chalice on 1, because you have to spend 2 mana on it. The mana value is going to be equal, if I understand. Yeah, the mana value is going to be equal to what it's cast on the stack. This will definitely be a staple, but not overtake the format like Mental did. Yeah, well, Mental overtook the format because, like, everyone could play Mental Misstep, you know. In Tournament Magic, we don't have something called color identities, but maybe we should. Our color identity, we have to choose one at the beginning of the game. James Rogers, oh, typical blue players, oh, well, me must protect from scary fire and lightning, absolutely. And that, I mean, that's, to be fair, you know, that's what the things we're going to be countering. We're going to be countering those lightning bolts. We're going to be countering those. No, not Skewer the Critics. No, that don't count. I'll think of something. Goblin Guide. You can hit Goblin Guide with this damn thing. Well, you can hit Mana Dorks. Get your Mana Dorks. I can't see how people think that this is absolute trash. Like, it's not going to see it. Of course it will see play. 100 billion% it was. Hold on, didn't we have something called Nyx? Isn't this Nyx on crack? Well, where's Nyx? There's a card called, I think there's a card called Nyx. Do I got it wrong? How do I call? There is like a 1 blue counter target spell that had no mana value or something. It costs nothing. And this is the same thing, but it hits the 1-drops as well. I could swear it's called, oh, it's literally an IX. Tommy here with the save. Tommy and Herbert. Let's look up. So this card almost saw play. Here we go. Counter target spell if no mana was spent to play it. Now, to be fair, this hits things like elementals, because no mana is spent to play it. But in this case, we're going to hit... we can't hit those elementals. We can't hit Solitude or Fury or Grief. But we can hit the Living Ends, and we can hit the Crashing Footfalls. We can hit Ancestral Vision. So we can hit all those cards. All right, so give me more cards, and we will evaluate them. And while I'm waiting for you guys to give me cards, let's look at... well, my next one that I did have up was Phyrexian Obliterator, which is a very funny card because this would have been a huge powerhouse if they didn't print a Shield Dread. If anyone has never played against this card, it's black, 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 black for a 5/5 Phyrexian Horror with Trample. Whenever a source deals damage to Phyrexian Obliterator, that source's controller sacrifices that many permanents. So if you Lightning Bolt my Phyrexian Obliterator, you sack 3 things. If you block this thing and deal damage to it, you're going to sack permanents equal to your creature's power. This is an outrageously incredible card. Very powerful, very strong, very good. But I have to admit, in Tournament Magic, you can't put so many 4-drops in your deck. I mean, maybe we could squeeze in a few more. Shield Dread is, like, really sucking up the spotlight here. Because if you want to have a 4-drop, you might as well have this. Because you can't force someone to deal damage to Phyrexian Obliterator. But you can force people to lose life every turn. And of course, you're going to gain some life. And also, this is just a way better thing to do at 4 mana. But I imagine that this probably will be squeezed in somewhere. Somewhere in Standard and somewhere in Pioneer. Alright, let's look at your guys' suggestions. We've got a Galissa Sunslayer. Galissa Sunslayer. Slaying the Sun. We got a green-black, 1 generic legendary zombie elf. There's a lot of words on this thing. It's a 3/3 first strike death touch. Whenever Galissa Sunslayer deals combat damage to a player, you may choose one, you may draw a card, you may lose 1 life, destroy target enchantment, and remove up to 3 counters from target permanent. You draw a card and you lose 1 life. This card's pretty good. I don't know if it would see tournament play. Let's see, as an elf, whenever Galissa... It has to be this card itself. Good commander. Any card that's cheap enough with a lot of words on it, it's good in my book. Ooh, I've never heard of this one. Phyrexian Vindicator. Vindicator. Oh, sweet! So they made a white version of this? White, 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 white. For a 5/5 flyer. So you don't need flying is superior to trample. If damage would be dealt to Phyrexian Vindicator, prevent that damage. When damage is prevented this way, Phyrexian Vindicator deals that much damage to any other target. So basically, it's like unblockable. Because if you block it, I mean, I'm just going to deal the damage to you, like, anyway. Or I guess if you chump block it for 1 damage, then I can only send 1 damage to you. This is neat, but the problem is, who the hell wants to play this card? That's the big problem. Who's going to jam this card? It's like, it's a pretty good card, but I don't think it has a home. I think it has no home whatsoever. Death and Tax is not going to play this. Is anyone out there going to play this card? Anyone in a commander deck? I mean, it's a cool card. I don't know if it has a home, that's all. This is a full cycle then? Who knows? We'll wait. We would be waiting a very, 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 very long time. Phyrexian Obliterator came out a long time ago. We're going to be like 90 years old when they come out with the blue Phyrexian Horror. Reanimator? Well, I don't think Reanimator wants to play this card. Okay, let's look at Abzo's card. Distorted. To get rid of cards with if damage would be dealt, can't you just exile it instead? Yeah, of course you can exile it. Distorted Curiosity. Blue 2 generic sorcery corrupted. This spell costs 2 less to cast if an opponent has 3 or more poison counters. Draw 2 cards. I think this is a fail! I know that it is really hot to be playing things like, you know, Thoughtcast and stuff like that. But for a blue-green Infect deck, I think if your opponent has... This is going to be really clunky up front. Like, it's really, really, really bad up front, in my opinion. And if you've already dealt some poison, it's also a good chance that you could have just killed them already. So it's very... Like, playing with this card might prove me wrong, but I think it's just too clunky for a genuine modern Infect deck. Yeah, I understand, for modern Infect. But I think even for modern Infect, they are not going to really want this card. Could be wrong. Oh, by the way, blue-green Infect hurting pretty badly. That's the version with Blighted Agent. 1 toughness creatures ain't doing so well in the metagame with Wrenn and 6 running around everywhere. I mean, like, the stock winning Infect deck is like basically black-green, you know? Alright, so let's look at Turiyawat I can't pronounce anything here. Skrelv's Hive. Let's take a look at Skrelv's Hive. Skrelv's Hive! A white and 1 generic enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 1 life and create a 1/1 colorless Phyrexian Might artifact creature token with Toxic 1, and this creature can't block Corrupted. For as long as an opponent has 3 or more poison counters, creatures you control with Toxic have lifelink. It's back! Bitter Blossom is back, baby! Bitter Blossom is back. This is hard to evaluate. Bitter Blossom, of course, had a really crappy clock, whereas this now has, like, a better clock, but they're not unblockable. So you have legitimately a lot of good decent blockers that could potentially kill you. So it's Bitter Blossom, but Bitter Blossom says you are actually at 10 life, not at 20. That being said, I know the history of Bitter Blossom. Bitter Blossom is trash, and I would have to wait to see for this to prove anything. That still is turn 2, do nothing. Turn 3, get a 1/1 creature at the cost of your life, and your life total is draining down fast. You are going to go to like 2, when you go down to 3 life, 4 life, you know that you're on a super bad, awful clock. So, although, I mean, the life gain might work. Maybe I'm underestimating the life gain. But remember, these creatures they're not unblockable, so I can just chump block these things, kill them. But they come out every turn, so I don't know. I am up front gonna say it's unplayable, but we're gonna wait and see. We're gonna wait and see. This whole set is toxic. It is, isn't it? Go wide toxicity. Let's hope. I hope they play tested this properly, because this set could be a disaster. Yeah, life gain matters. It does matter. Bitter Blossom didn't give you life gain. Skrelv's Hive gives you life gain, but we have to wait to see. Let's see how it works in practice. You still got to get that 3 toxic in there. Sorry, 3 poison counters. Or maybe this is an addition. Maybe there's going to be like white-green Infect. Maybe that's a thing. White-green Infect? We'll see. We'll wait and see. Nicholas with Tyrannix Rex. Tyrannix Rex. Anyway, yeah, remember my history. I'm a huge hater of Bitter Blossom, so I have a lot against Skrelv's Hive. Tyrannix Rex, green for generic. Someone give me a good reason why I shouldn't just oust this card right now. It's an 8/8 spell that can't be countered. It's got Trample. It's got Ward 4. It's got Haste. It's got that Toxic 4. Too expensive. Too expensive. I don't care. It can say you win the game on it for all I care. 7 mana is not happening around here. Alright, what do we got? Next is Encroaching Mycosynth. Oh, but before we go look at this one. Mycosynth. You know, I have to say one more thing about this big dinosaur. It just costs too much mana. Alright, before we look at Encroaching Mycosynth, we gotta thank our sponsors. You know all about them. FusionGamingOnline.com. If it hasn't been imprinted in your brain, let it be imprinted now. That FusionGamingOnline.com has a deal of the week! Every week, and it's different every week. This time, you save 15% off on booster packs. Another week, you're saving money on singles. And if you want to ever buy your singles, especially the ones from Phyrexia, all be one. You can pre-order and get them at FusionGamingOnline.com with 5% off when you use coupon code Nikachu at checkout. And don't forget that it also supports the channel. We're also going to thank Mana Traders, the premier place for renting Magic cards online. You want to try out the new Phyrexia 1 cards? You want to try out that blue-green Infect deck using the Hive? You want to try out that Tyrannosaurus Rex thing? Well, you don't have to buy into the cards, you just rent them with Mana Traders. And if it doesn't work out, you send them back and try out new brews. You can support the channel using my Mana Traders link in the description below, or save 10% off your first 2 months using coupon code Nikachu_EK2. And now back to crazy All-Be-One cards. Let the ratings begin. Encroaching Mycosynth, blue 3 generic. Non-land permanents you control are artifacts in addition to the other types. It's funny, the non-land, lands don't count. The same is true for permanent spells you control and non-land permanent cards you own that aren't on the battlefield. So everything in your deck is an artifact. It only costs 1 blue. Okay, well, first off, it looks unplayable for tournament Magic, but I have a sneaking suspicion this card can be abused somehow. It's lattice, but same is true for permanent spells you control. So spells on the stack are artifacts, and non-land permanent cards you own. It's funny that they said no lands. The lands aren't allowed. Oh yeah, you could improvise something. You could tutor for artifacts. So all of a sudden... Also, can you Karn for anything? Could you Karn Wishboard for anything with this card? This is a unique design. I think this is pretty good. It's true for permanent spells you control and non-land permanent cards you own that aren't on... You own, yeah. So your sideboard is also artifacts. I'll go get my Jace the Mind Sculptor with my Karn the Great Creator. Thank you very much. Because that's how it works as far as I understand. Interesting card. I don't know how to break this card, but I mean, it's got all those signs. It's just asking to be broken. We got Dr. Django with the super chat. Thanks so much. The Mycosynth Gardens seems pretty strong. The Gardens. Come into my garden. Oh yeah, I heard the Amulet players want to play with this card. Tap, add a generic, colorless mana. Pay 1 tap, add 1 mana of any color. Or you can pay X tap. Mycosynth Gardens becomes a copy of target non-token artifact you control with mana value X. So you can copy amulets. You can copy anything. So it's like I think this is a super amazing card that they made. You could copy what, like Soul Ring, right? It becomes a copy of target non-token artifact you control with mana value X. So you could copy Soul Ring in theory. Well, I don't know if you want to copy Mana Vault, because then it would be basically come into play tapped and then you can't untap it. What could you copy in Commander? I think that, yeah, you could definitely easily copy another Soul Ring. Copy LED. There you go. Now we're thinking. You can never have enough mana. Copy LED to get that 3 extra mana that you'd always been looking for. And how big of a cost is this to put into your deck? And also, you can filter for any color. I mean, usually when you make these sort of lands, it usually comes at the cost that it can only add generic mana. This thing adds colored mana. Add 1 mana of any color you want. Okay, it's going to cost you a little bit more mana, but who cares? You're probably netting a bunch of extra mana with all these other artifacts you have on the battlefield. Go copy your Lotus. Copy your Lotus Bloom. Amazing card. Super amazing card. Mycosynth Gardens. Instant staple. We got the Goblin Trash Masters. Thank you so much. Venerated Rot Priest. The Rot Priest. Really good with Spellskite. Well, so is Death Shadow. So we have a green 1/2 toxic 1 Phyrexian Druid. Whenever a creature you control becomes the target of a spell, target opponent gets a poison counter. Not in love with it. Because you can choose, your opponent has, I don't like these cards where your opponents have the choice whether they, oh, it is any creature, but still you give your opponent the choice whether they're going to get the poison counter or not. We're going to have to wait and see if maybe in the right deck if you deal enough damage, but I don't know where you put the room in a, like say an Infect deck to play this guy. So that, and you said it's good with, oh, good with Spellskite, but then basically it says between this guy and Spellskite, you're telling me, like, well, your opponent's removal spells don't work anymore. I mean, unless they kill the Spellskite itself. But you can't force... It's sort of like Phyrexian Obliterator. You can't force your opponent to get hurt by this. Your opponent has to willingly participate in order to make that work. Flo Nino! Phyrexian Obliterate with a Bushwhacker is... With Bushwhack? Bushwhack. We looked at Phyrexian Obliterate a little bit a while ago. You mean Bushwhacker or Bushwhack? Like literal Bushwhack. Choose one, search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, put it in your hand, or target creature you control fights another target creature you don't control. In what world are we playing Bushwhack in a Phyrexian Obliterator deck? I don't think it's gonna work. It's a cool idea, but like I don't think it's gonna work. Alpha Nerd, thank you so much. Tekuthal. Tekuthal. The hell is this? Looks like Doc Ock. It's Dr. Octopus. Okay, blue, 2 generic, legendary creature, Phyrexian Horror. Flying. If you would proliferate twice instead. I hate it already. And it's 3/5 for a Phyrexian, 1 mana. Remove 3 counters from among other artifacts, creatures, and planeswalkers you control. Put an indestructible counter on Tekuthal Inquiry Dominus. I don't know how to evaluate this card. Is this broken? This dude in Ivy in EDH? I will admit, proliferating twice can be really broken. Proliferate is an underrated mechanic, and if you get to do it twice instead, I mean, that adds up real quick. I just don't know how useful this indestructible ability is. The Venerated Raw Priest can trigger off of your own spells. Okay, let's go back. Whenever a creature you control becomes the target of a spell or ability, target opponent gets... Oh! So if you do play this in fact, you target with a pump spell, your opponent automatically gets a poison counter. This still costs you a card in your deck, and it only has Toxic 1. We'll see what happens. It is unblockable damage, though. It is unblockable damage. Maybe, is there like some weird world where you just target your creatures with like cantrips and then you just put... Like, I guess there's a possibility that with this card, you could make a combo deck just around it. I'm trying to think of some deck that like targets creatures, draw cards, targets creatures, draw cards, and like untaps mana dorks, and you go infinite. Anyway, we'll have to see. It still takes a slot in your deck. All right, getting back to this card, I have no idea if this card is good or not. I will give it a pass. Very apprehensive pass, though. Broman with a super chat. Thanks so much. Malcator. Purity Overseer. Blue-white. 1 generic for a 1/1 elephant. It's an elephant. Where's the elephant in there? Phyrexian Elephant Wizard. Where's the big long... Oh, there's the schnauz. You see the schnauz? I think I see the schnauz. What a very small elephant. It's like a baby elephant. When Malcator Purity Overseer enters the battlefield, create a 3/3 colorless Phyrexian Golem artifact creature token. Blade Splicer is back. At the beginning of your end step, if 3 or more artifacts enter the battlefield this turn under your control, create a 3/3 colorless Phyrexian Golem artifact creature token. I like it. I think you get immediate value, and it's possible you can chain into more value. Very interesting card. Potential playable. What else do we have here? Okay, next we've got... Is there an actual card all will be 1? All will be 1. Red, 3 generic enchantment. Whenever you put 1 or more counters on a permanent or player, all will be 1 deals that much damage to target opponent, creature an opponent controls, or planeswalker an opponent controls. I don't get it. Whenever you put 1 or more counters on a permanent or player, all will be 1 deal that much damage to target opponent, creature an opponent controls. So I get to direct it anywhere. If I understand, if a creature, whenever 1 or more counters are put on a permanent or player, then I can just snipe something down. I gotta see it to believe it. I gotta see it to believe it. Make proliferate go burr. I guess so. Everyone says it's OP. Maybe I'm wrong. Oh, hold on. Planeswalkers. That's interesting. Whenever more creature counters are put on a permanent player, it deals. That's interesting. All right, maybe it's okay. Maybe, yeah, Planeswalkers make this card interesting. Oh, do I always control this? So whenever someone uses a Planeswalker, whenever you put... Oh, no, it's only whenever I put one or more counters on a permanent or player. All right, I figure it out. I think this card looks janky, though, if you ask me. This is like a very janky looking card. This is definitely not going to see play in tournaments. I don't even know if this is... What do you guys... CEDH community, you think this is good or what? I'm going to go back to my initial reaction. I don't like this card. You want to play with jank? You go play with jank. That's fine. There's nothing wrong playing with jank. They said the title of the set. That's right. It's the title of the set. Alright, we got the Trash Masters. They're back. New Tyvar and Pioneer Elves or a modern Maverick style deck seems really good. The new Tyvar. I don't know which one's the new Tyvar. Okay, let's look the one with the new... Ooh, 3-mana Planeswalker. Everyone beware. Alright, black, green, 1 generic. You may activate abilities of creatures you control as though those creatures had haste. +1, untap up to 1 target creature, and -3, mill 3 cards when you... And then you may return a creature card with mana value 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield, and you can instantly activate this for value. This card looks instantly good. Actually, it looks just downright amazing. Where else could they might see this card see play? And you can, like, return any creature card from your graveyard. Like, it could already be there, and you just mill 3 random cards and take something back. Could also see play in, what's it called? The Counters Company. I can't remember the damn name of this deck because it's Devoted Devastation. Devoted Druid loves this thing. Is there a Staff of Completion? Looks like Loki, yeah, sort of does. The Staff of Completion, 3 mana. For a tap, pay 1 life, destroy target permanent you own. So it doesn't sound good. We're not starting off really well with the Staff of Completion. Tap, pay 2 life, add 1 mana of any color. Tap, pay 3 life, proliferate. Tap, pay 4 life, draw a card. Okay, so is that what drawing a card is worth? 4 life. Pay it up, Commander players, pay it up. Pay 5 mana, untap Staff of Completion. Yeah, you're gonna pay with life. I think the card is good though. I bet it'll see play anyway. And you Commander players with 40 life, I mean, what is it to you? I don't know why. When do we want to destroy own permanents though? I guess to get some trigger or something. Oh, Shieldred's Edict. I know this one. They basically buffed up Diabolic Edict. Diabolic Edict, eat your heart out. We got black and 1. Instant, choose 1. Each opponent sacks a non-token creature. Each opponent sacrifices a creature token. Or each opponent sacrifices a Planeswalker. Diabolic Edict on absolute steroids. If this was a Strictly Better video, we would say this is strictly better than... Let's look at Diabolic Edict. So diabolic. Used to be instant. Target player sacks a creature. 1 player. And that's from Modern Horizons. They reprinted that in Modern Horizons. They thought that was Modern Horizons playable. And then it didn't see any play in Modern. Although if they reprint True Name Nemesis, that would have seen play in Modern. Now we got Shieldred's Edict. Each opponent sacks a non-token creature. Each opponent sacks a creature token. So it hits the tokens and everything. I guess you have to choose one or the other. That's how they balanced out. Or each opponent sacks a Planeswalker. Goodbye, Ralzeric. Goodbye, Elspeth. Goodbye, Jace the Mind Sculptor. Each opponent. Please do Vraska. Which one's Vraska? The Stinger. Oh yeah, by the way, the what am I doing? There we go. By the way, the Edict, easy pass. Easy pass. Could end up seeing play. Vraska's Betrayal Sting. So for a black 4 generic and a single Phyrexian completed, can be paid with black or 2 life. If life was paid, this Planeswalker enters with 2 fewer loyalty counters. Ouch! 0. You draw a card and lose 1 life. Proliferate. That's not bad. 5 mana and just instantly start drawing cards. That's not bad. -2. Target creature becomes a treasure artifact with tap, sack this artifact, add 1 mana of any color, loses all other types and abilities. What a weird ability. So it's removal. So we got a piece of removal. That's not too broken because we're going to give our opponent a treasure token. So here's some beautiful treasure. You've been completed. When you were completed, you turned into a pile of gold, I guess. And then -9. If target player has fewer than 9 poison counters, they get a number of poison counters equal to the difference. Not in love with the ultimate, but you know what? 5 mana, draw cards, and a hard removal spell. I like it. I think the card looks pretty good. El Azar with Mind Splice Apparatus. Flash Artifact. I didn't miss any super chats, right? Just going back, making sure. You people supporting the channel. Gotta put you above everyone else. Okay, blue 3 generic flash artifact. That's a lot. That's actually a pretty chunky flash artifact. At the beginning of your upkeep, put an oil counter on Mind Splice Apparatus. Instant and sorcery spells you cast cost 1 less to cast for each oil counter on Mind Splice Apparatus. Is this really better than Baral? How are you going to get this thing in play? Okay, so for tournament Magic, this is awful. It's not playable. It's not going to see any play anywhere. Now for Commander, it's a completely different deal. You could get this in by turn 2 with your Soul Ring, can't you? And then all of a sudden the instant and sorcery spells cost 1 less to cast. I could see it passing there. I could see it being a nice, easy Commander playable. And also you hold up your blue mana, even on turn 4, whatever. Hold up your blue mana, and then at the end of your last opponent's turn, you throw in the Mind Splice Apparatus. No one gonna F with you. They all think you have counter spells anyway. You're like, surprise! I'm sort of a Storm player myself. I'm trying to, let's see if I can grab something from someone who hasn't said anything yet. Did I get something from you, Armageddon, today? The Mondrak Glory Dominius. White 2 generic for a 4/4 Phyrexian horror. If 1 or more tokens would be created under your control, twice that many tokens are created. Twice that many of those tokens are created instead. That is dangerous. And then Phyrexian, and a 1 generic. Sack 2 other artifacts and or creatures. Put an indestructible counter on Mondrak Glorious Dominus. So basically, for 1 mana, I can make this thing indestructible and make it very, very difficult for you to ever get anything in play. If 1 or more tokens, and it's any tokens, it's like treasure tokens for crying out loud. It can be treasure tokens, it can be creature tokens. It's any tokens. I think this is really good. Is that my new Mirror Commander? Could be. Make your mirrors away. The Eternal Wanderer from Daniel. Man, the Wanderer gets around. First, they're like, I don't know. Weren't they like in Zendikar? I don't know. No. Sorry, they were on War of the Spark. Then they were in Kamigawa, and now they're in Phyrexia world. Did she get? She did not get completed. No, not yet. And not everyone will be one. So white 4 generic, 5 loyalty. No more than 1 creature can attack the Wanderer each combat. Well, that sucks. Okay, +1. Exile up to 1 target artifact or creature. Return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of that player's next end step. So we got a little bit of Flicker Wisp action. Pay 0, create a 2/2 white samurai creature token with double strike and -4, which we can activate immediately. For each player, choose a creature that player controls. Each player sacrifices all creatures they control not chosen this way. Not in love with it. Not really in love with this card. 6 mana to blink things and create 2/2 samurais and leave your opponent with 1 creature. You still leave them with a creature. Not in love with this card. Unless I'm missing something. Turn up exile one target artifact or creature. Maybe I don't know the full utility of like blinking artifacts. She is basically impossible to attack. In Commander, no, because like one player attacks, you block with your White Samurai, and then another player attacks, and then it's dead. As far as I'm concerned. The big thing for me, 6 mana. That's a lot of mana. That is a lot of manas. And, you know, if it was a 4 mana Planeswalker, I'd say this is broken. But at 6 mana, got a lot of things you could do to completely win the game at 6 mana, and I don't want to be playing the Eternal Wanderer, that's all. Francis with the super chat, thanks so much. Elish Norn, Mother of Machines. Oh yes, this is the, what's it called? The new one-sided ability thing, right? Okay, so for a white 4 generic, which is not hard to cast at all. It's basically, please cast me with your mana vault, please with your mana vaults and your mana crypts and so on. We got a 4/7 vigilance, Phyrexian Praetor. If a permanent entering the battlefield causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, it triggers twice. Permanents entering the battlefield don't cause abilities of permanents your opponents control to trigger. Again, that's also so it's like, I get all the triggers, you don't get F all. It's all me. Oh, by the way, I double the trigger, so, you know, I'll trigger for you. Is effectively what this means. She'll be banned in a lot of formats. Probably not in any competitive, none of the tournament formats. Like, I don't see this getting banned in Modern or Pioneer. I don't know, maybe it'll do something in Pioneer. I don't know. Pioneer's a bit of a weird format. It's very underpowered. But I don't see it running away with the game. It's a great card. Definitely a great card. Is it the most expensive card of the set? They knew it was going to be the most... Look at it. Look how many versions there are. This is crazy. They knew that this is the hot card and they prepared. They made so many... There's so many different versions. They're all different too. Or some of them are sort of the same. I don't know. It's a bit weird. They do though. They knew. Stop cards like Dockside Extortion. Well, that's the least of our worries at this point. Nalia, Urtet. The hell is this? 3 mana mirror. Oh, the mirrors are getting some support. Or are they? It's a 2/2 mirror. Whenever you cast a mirror spell, create a 1/1 colorless mirror artifact creature token. At the beginning of combat on your turn, untap each mirror you control. Okay, so I guess the deal is a lot of mirrors tap for mana. So I guess the deal is you can tap all your mirrors for mana, play something, and then at the beginning of your combat, oh, we all get to attack. Yay, friends, let's go. And whenever you cast it, you get a, oh, actually, you know what? This I like this first part. Whenever you cast a mirror spell, create a 1/1 colorless mirror. That's a pretty big buff. Yeah, Mirror Tribe got big buff here. And then we've got white, blue, black, red, green, tap. Oh, look at this. Could this be the next Golos, people? Is this the next Golos for Commander? The generic artifact that can play any color in its deck that it wants. Put 3 +1/+1 counters on each. Holy crap! Activate only during your turn. And again, you could activate this, tap all your mirrors, which tap for mana anyway, and then untap them at the beginning of combat. So you tap them all, buff them up, they become real creatures. This card is great. This card is very, very good. Love my... Again, mirrors need help. I'm not gonna lie. Mirrors are garbage. They're all garbage. They need so much help, and if this is your mirror commander, it actually might turn them into something relatively playable. This whole card makes mirrors... I mean, this whole card, basically, you could replace mirror, the word mirror, with any creature type, and it would have made it good, as far as I'm concerned. It just so happened to be mirror. So anyway, they helped. Bloated... Oh, we have Bloated Contaminator. Bloated Contaminator. Don't get too bloated. I just learned the other day how they deal with bloated cows. They stick a needle in them with a hollow needle to get the gas out. All full of methane in there. I even saw this Twitter video where they put a flame on it too. So there's this flame coming out of a cow, a flaming cow. Anyway, back to the magic. Green 2 generic, Phyrexian Beast. It's a 4/4 creature. It's pretty big. It's a pretty beefy creature with trample. Toxic 1. Whenever Bloated Contaminator deals combat damage to a player, proliferate. This actually looks really good. Like, 3 mana, you know, for 3 mana, you don't get that many good cards. I mean, the last good card that I know for 3 mana is, like, Old Growth Troll. And to be honest, what I really like about Old Growth Troll is that when it dies, it comes back. Like, it'll go onto a land, and then you could, like, bring it back into another creature, so it's like a 2-for-1. But I've looked at all the 3 mana creatures. Like, there's a lot of garbage ones out there. So we have a 4/4 Trampler that could potentially kill your opponent with Infect, because you get to proliferate the stupid Toxic 1 poison counter. So I like this card. That's how they make the flame onion, the flame mignon. That cow had more gas than me on Saturday morning. We all like our gas. Actually, we don't like gas. Holy smoke, yeah, not bad. Not a bad card. Blade of Shared Souls, says Nicola. Blade of Shared Souls. We got a blue card. Blue 2 generic equipment. For Mirrodin! When this equipment enters the battlefield, create a 2/2 red rebel creature token, and then attach it to this creature. So it's like, what's it called? It has the, it's like a germ. It's basically a living weapon, except it's called For Mirrodin. Whenever Blade of Shared Souls becomes attached to a creature, for as long as Blade of Shared Souls remains attached to it, you may have that creature become a copy of another target creature you control. So it can become a clone. So it's a clone art. It's a clone equipment. Create a 2/2 rebel. Whenever it becomes attached to a creature, for as long as it remains attached to it, you may have that creature become a copy of it. But it has to be another creature you control. You may. You don't have to. But then, like, what's the point of it? Like, the whole point of it is to clone something else. This is a cool card. Interesting. It's... Okay, I'll put it this way. Cool card, but probably unplayable. I think it's unplayable. I don't think you can use this for anything. For Mirrodin. Yeah, it's... That's sums it up right there. Debatra. It's neat. It's a neat card. Insert Marge from The Simpsons. I just think it's neat. That's all. Gabe. Oh, they have Kaito in this set? Since when did Kamigawa, or did the Phyrexians invade Kamigawa? Because it doesn't make any sense that so many of these Kamigawa characters are in Phyrexia world. Blue-black, 2 generic, Kaito Dancing Shadow. It's a Kaito Planeswalker, 3 loyalty. Whenever... They're getting small on the text here. They're getting greedy. They're getting so greedy with the text. Like, it's a small font. It looks like a custom card. Okay, whenever 1 or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, you may return 1 of them to its owner's hand. If you do, you may activate loyalty abilities of Kaito twice this turn, rather than only once. Whenever 1 or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player. So if you deal damage, we can use 2 abilities. And it's pretty cheap too. This is a 4 mana card, but the problem is using Planeswalkers with creature-based decks, very hard to do. Most Planeswalkers are really good in, like, well, I mean, at least in the blue colors, if you're adding blue, there's not a lot of good blue creatures out there. +1, up to 1 target creature can't attack or block until your next turn. So you could, I guess, make a creature not block, attack, they take damage, and then you could use another ability like draw a card. And then -2, create a 2/2 colorless drone artifact creature token with Death Touch, and when this creature leaves the battlefield, each opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. I like the card. I have a feeling... Oh man, this looks like a really good commander card, to be honest. Kaito is great. Ninjutsu support. I have a feeling for competitive Magic, no good. Commander, it looks good. Because you can play this, attack with one creature, and draw 2 cards. Basically, and you just attack randomly some nobody. Someone who doesn't have, who's completely open. Death Touch, I think, is what's going to make this. Oh, the Death Touch creature? Oh, yeah, that's true. You play Kaito, you just go -2. You have your Death Touch creature that at least is going to trade with a removal spell or another creature someone controls. That's totally true. 4-drop slots usually stack, probably only a limited card. No, I mean, 4-drops are, it's in an awkward spot, you know? It's got to be pretty good. And I think this card has a lot going for it, especially this potential double draw. So you put Kaito in play, you attack with some random creature, you draw 2 cards. I like that. I like that a lot. Very similar to the old one, except the other one you could only draw 1 card if you attacked with a creature. In some ways, it's better than the old Kaito. All right, we got Ulyss, Drivnod. Is it me, or are these cards getting harder and harder to pronounce? Black 3 generic for an 8/3. You don't see that anymore. These gigantic powers and tiny toughnesses. If a creature dying causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers at additional time. All right, double the dying triggers. And we got Phyrexia. Exile 3 creature cards from your graveyard. Put an indestructible counter. Oh, it's another one of these things. And it's big. It's a beefy creature. What is it, a 3-turn Phyrexian clock? It's 5 mana. I don't know. I have no idea how to exile 3 creature cards from your graveyard. That also sounds hard to do. Gotta see it to believe it. It's one of those. Gotta see it to believe it. And at the moment, I don't believe it. Dies to bolt. Yeah, exactly. Double dead. I missed a super chat. We're gonna go back to the super chat that I missed. Oh, we got Alpha Nerd. Thanks so much for the super chat. Sword of Forge and Frontier. Oh, they brought back the swords, did they? This looks like something like Power Rangers meets Star Wars or something. These swords are looking a bit bizarre now. All right, 3 mana. Equipped creature gets +2/+2 and has protection from red and from green. Whenever an equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, exile the top 2 cards at your library. You may play those cards this turn. You may play an additional land this turn. Not in love with it. I think that's too much work to basically draw 2 cards. I think it's a little bit. I think it's way too much work. I don't like working hard with the. Most swords aren't really playable. Like, it needs a really big, strong effect. And like these days, the swords are too costly to try to cast and then equip. You basically spend 5 mana, your creature gets blown up, and then anyway, I think the payoff is not good enough. Most swords these days are just unplayable. So it's nothing against this. I have nothing against this sword. The swords are just unplayable. Yeah, Feast and Famine, gang. Not the worst sword. Might be worth it for unblockable in specific metas, but no, there's no meta that's gonna be playable. It's commander card. They made it for you commander players, so you have fun with it. Doesn't die to bolt if you have 3 creatures in your graveyard. Oh yeah, well, get those creatures in that graveyard. You better back it up. Okay, so what else do we have here? Imagine Swooping Lookout. Look out! It's the Swooping Lookout. Okay, we have 1 white for a 1/2 Flying Vigilance. It's an artifact. We can do better. I think we can do better. I think. There's some weird world where maybe some version of Affinity wants to play with this card, but that's about it. This is a pretty buffed up card. In the grand scheme of things, it's still 1 mana for a 1/2 Flying Vigilance creature. They don't give that to Angels, that's for sure. They hardly. It's a burb, sort of. It's a very disgusting looking burb. We have Koth in this set? Koth, Fire of Resistance. 4 mana. 4 mana Koth, 4 loyalty. Search your library for a basic mountain card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. That's not impressive. -3, Koth deals damage to target creature equal to the number of mountains you control. Also not impressive. And -7, you get an emblem with whenever a mountain enters the battlefield under your control, this emblem deals 4 damage to any target. Maybe maybe that could see play in... Okay, hold on. Let's think about this critically. Could this see play in a Valakut deck? You could look for the mountains. It ultimates in like 3 turns. So you go to 6, you go to 8, then you go to -7. Whenever a mountain enters the battle, and then you could just scape shift, even with 6 lands in play. Yeah, it could. Yeah, it's basically Valakut on a walker, and it defends itself because it deals damage to our creature equal to the number of mountains you control. And you're gonna have a lot of mountains. You're gonna have the stomping grounds, the cinder glades, and whatever. Ugh. The more I look at this now, I'm like, it goes to 6 immediately. And like, so that's even hard to kill. Oh, I think a danger. The more, at first I thought this card was a joke, and now the longer I look at it, the more dangerous I think it is. Could be a 1 or 2 of in a Valakut deck in case your Valakuts get removed somehow. Well, another thing is you don't even have to wait that long to get Valakut online. Like, you don't have to wait to get to 7 lands. You could easily just be at like 6 lands. And this will find lands, so you could be a little bit more threat dense in your deck instead of being so mana heavy. Oh, it's weird. Whenever a mountain enters the battlefield under your control, this emblem deals 4 damage to any target. Because you could be, in theory, at 5 lands, scape shift, and then shoot your opponent for 20 damage. Yeah, this is a live set reaction. I don't know any of these cards. I know some of them, but I never saw this one. Hey, Richie. I haven't seen you in a while, Richie. Blood Moon yourself so you have more mountains. Does that work? I think you're right. I think that works whenever a mountain enters the battlefield. So actually, this still works under Blood Moon. Holy crap. Okay, this is definitely broken. I think this is broken. This will definitely see play. This should see play in Valakut. They have to play test this card. They absolutely have. They could play like a Blood Moon Valakut deck now. Before they were afraid of Blood Moon. Now they don't even care because they got caught Fire of Resistance. This card's broken. The card's broken. All right. Imagine with Tainted Observer. Best burb? Tainted Observer. I didn't miss any super chats, did I? I don't see anything. Tainted Observer. Blue-green, 1 generic for a 2/3. It is a bird. It's a very bizarre bird. The burb is very, has been... If this is completed, I don't want it. Okay, flying with Toxic 1. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may pay 2 mana. If you do, proliferates. Not in love with it. Not in love with paying mana after whenever another creature enters the battlefield. It has to be under your control too, so you spent mana to get this thing in play. Not in love with it. Yeah, someone clip that. Let's bring that up about Koth in a couple of months. Well, that's another thing. I could go back and then react to my stupid predictions. We're having fun here. G-Blade. Nahiri. Nahiri's on this plane as well. The Unforgiving. Oh god. She's Edward Sword Hands. Or I guess we call it Nahiri Sword Hands. This is very bizarre looking. Plane, you got lightsabers for arms. Okay, we have a white Boros Phyrexian, red, and 1 generic. So it's potentially 3 mana. With +1 until your next turn, up to 1 target creature attacks a player each combat if able. Not in love with that. +1, discard a card, draw a card. It's okay, but also not in love with that. It is 5 loyalty. I do love that. And pay 0. Exile target creature equipment card with mana value less than Nahiri's loyalty from your graveyard. Create a token that's a copy of it. That token gains haste. Exile at the beginning of the next end step. This is like a card that requires a lot of work to, I think, make useful. Spicy high 5. 5 loyalty. It is 5 loyalty. It comes in with 3 if you pay 3 mana. Here he's gonna be a Johnny card, fringe, but good in the glass house that she's in. I don't even know if she's good at anything. I mean, like, whatever. It's a funsy planeswalker, but I think that's basically all it's gonna be. I'm gonna I'm going to give it this 2 thumbs down. I'm not in love with this Planeswalker, even though it could go to 6 loyalty by turn 3. I could be so dead wrong, though. I'm telling you, do not underestimate 3 mana, 6 loyalty Planeswalkers. Although it will be harder to defend herself compared to Oko. Oko was very, very good at defending itself. You went to 6, and then you made like a 3/3 elk out of the stupid treasure token that you made, or whatever, the food token that you made. And this Nahiri can't defend herself at all. Gabrielle with the Archfiend of the Dross. Alright, Archfiend of the Dross. Black, 2 generic. For a 6/6 Phyrexian Demon flying. Archfiend of the Dross enters the battlefield with 4 oil counters on it. Very oily. Phyrexia might as well be in Texas. And at the beginning of your upkeep, remove an oil counter from Archfiend of the Dross. Then if it has no oil counters on it, you lose the game. And whenever a creature an opponent control dies, its control loses 2 life. This is not the first or last time we've seen a 6/6 flyer for 4 mana. It is not very impressive. And the fact that we can lose the game, not good. You're basically at, what are you on? You're on a 4-turn clock to win the game? That's terrible. Yeah, a danger for you. It's probably a good limited card, because you can probably kill someone in time, but like competitive Magic, they'll just block it. It'll do their best to keep it around. It'll work for them, work for your opponent. Orentis, Mirren Safe House. The Safe House. 3 mana artifact. As long as Mirren Safe House is on the battlefield, it has all activated abilities of all land cards and all graveyards. What a weird card. Okay, I think this is not competitive, but it's probably a funsy card. This is a Marge Simpson card. I just think it's neat. It's a neat card. It has to be land cards and graveyards too. Josh Karen, thanks so much for the super chat. Tyvar's Stand. I don't think we did Tyvar. Tyvar's Stand. We did do the Staff of Completion. The hell is this? A green X instant. Target creature you control gets +X/+X and gains hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. I hate it. I don't like these cards. I guess you could do it for 1 mana. 1 mana, hexproof and indestructible. Probably like that. What is that? Heliod card is better. 3 mana fetch. How does this use the abilities of fetch land? So what? I can sack it. I can sack it like a fetch land. Is that what you're telling me? I could tap it like a Guy's Cradle, but someone got to own a Guy's Cradle on the board. So one good ability is you can pay 1 and give the creature indestructible, but the +X/+X is not very exciting to me. Armageddon. Karu Monix. Karu Monix. The Rat King. We got some rat. Does it have 2 heads? No, it's got 3 heads. Maybe a 4th one if I look hard enough. Black, 1 generic for a 3/3 Phyrexian rat with Toxic 1. Other rats you control have Toxic 1. Uh-oh. Rats be getting strong all of a sudden. When Karamex enters the battlefield, look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may reveal any number of rat cards from among them and put the revealed cards into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. I think this is great for the rat tribal players. I think this is unplayable in competitive Magic. And Approaching Calamity is going to sneak in there with 1 more super chat. Imagine losing the game because I just happened to have a Vampire Hex Mage and remove all your Archfiend counters. Yeah, exactly. Archfiend of Dross. Well, they have until their upkeep. At the beginning of your upkeep, remove an oil counter. So they have up until their upkeep to win the game. Today went fast. Well, everything goes fast when you're having fun. Okay. Well, that's it for Coffee and MTG. We didn't go through the whole spoiler because, well, it's a million cards. I'm not going to go through all 500 cards. But I hope you had fun today. That's definitely something we can do every single time a set comes out. So, as usual, if you want to be here for Coffee and MTG, you gotta be here 11 o'clock a.m. Central Standard Time, Monday to Friday. Thanks, everyone, for your super chats and all your support supporting the channel. The super chats, becoming a member on YouTube, or a patron on Patreon. But most importantly, thank all of you for showing up this morning. Thank you so much to Pacers, to Lauren, to Fairgal, to Abzo, to Spookly, to B. Jackstraw. Michael praised Samuel, because without all you guys, I got no show. You guys are the show for me. So, as usual, you keep brewing up those coffees, Coffee Crew, and we'll keep brewing up the magic. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you